I will take away your beauty so that no wealthy man will ever consider you worthy of marriage. These were the words Folashade's stepmother whispered the night before the richest trader in Ibadan came to ask for her hand. But what they did not know was that beauty cannot be stolen, only revealed. And by the time the sun rose on her wedding day, the entire village would learn a lesson written in shame and regret. Stay with me till the end. Before we continue with what happened next, if you're finding this story compelling, consider subscribing. We post new African stories every week, and your support allows us to keep bringing you these deeply interesting stories. Now, back to the story. Folashade was 20 years old, but she carried herself like someone much older, someone who had learned too early that silence could protect you when kindness could not. She was the last daughter of Baba Adeyemi, a respected palm wine tapper in the ancient city of Ibadan. Her father was known throughout 5 villages for his skill. He could climb the tallest palm tree before dawn and return with gourds full of the sweetest wine before the market bell rang. But Adeyemi had made one mistake in his life. He married 2 wives. The first wife, Iya Kike, had given him 3 daughters, Kike, Bimpe, and Simisola. The second wife, Folashade's mother, Aduni, died bringing Folashade into the world. The birth had been difficult, and by the time the herbalist arrived, Aduni had already crossed to the land of the ancestors. From that day forward, Folashade grew up under the roof of Iya Kike, who treated her not as a daughter, but as a reminder of the woman who had once shared her husband's love. Folashade, Iya Kike's voice cut through the morning air like a machete through sugarcane. Have you fetched water from the stream? Yes, Iyami, Folashade answered quietly, using the Yoruba term of respect for my mother, though the word tasted bitter on her tongue. And swept the compound? Yes, Iyami. And prepared the pepper soup for your father? It is cooking now, Iyami. Iya Kike clicked her tongue in that particular way that meant nothing Folashade did would ever be enough. Yet you stand here idle like a woman waiting for her husband to return from war. Folashade lowered her eyes. She had learned long ago that defending yourself only made things worse. Her stepsisters were no kinder. Kike, the eldest, was 25 and still unmarried, a fact that burned in her chest like hot coals. Bimpe was 23 and had been betrothed twice, but both men had changed their minds for reasons no one spoke about openly. Simisola, the youngest of the 3 at 21, was quieter than her sisters, but her silence was not kindness. It was the silence of someone who watched evil happen and did nothing to stop it. To the outside world, Folashade appeared blessed by the Orishas themselves. She was beautiful, not in the sharp, attention-demanding way, but in the gentle way that even old women stop and smile when she passed. Her skin was smooth as shea butter, her eyes bright with intelligence, and her movements carried a grace that seemed inherited from somewhere beyond this world. Village elders praised her. Adeyemi, your daughter will bring honor to your name, they would say. But inside her father's compound, she was called Alaparun, the worthless one. That evening, Baba Adeyemi returned from the palm groves and found Folashade grinding pepper behind the kitchen. He sat heavily on his carved wooden stool, his face lined with exhaustion. Folashade, Omo mi, he called, using the tender phrase, my child. She came immediately, kneeling with proper respect. Welcome home, Baba mi. He looked at her with the kind of sadness only a father carries when he knows his child is suffering but feels powerless to stop it completely. Come and sit beside me, he said gently. Folashade sat on the ground near his feet as was proper. Adeyemi reached into his cloth bag and pulled out a piece of roasted corn. Eat, he said. You work too hard. Thank you, Baba. Her voice was barely a whisper. As she ate, Adeyemi spoke carefully. You are a woman now, Folashade,
Soon, a good man will come for you and you will have your own home, a place where you are respected. Folashade's chest tightened. Baba, I am content here. Adeyemi shook his head. You should not have to lie to your father. He placed his rough hand on her head. I see what they do. I hear how they speak to you when they think I cannot hear. One day this will change. From the doorway of the main house, Iya Kike watched them with cold calculation. Beside her, Kike and Bimpe exchanged glances that spoke louder than words. They hated the bond between Adeyemi and Folashade because it reminded them of what they could never have, his wholehearted love. And that night, as Folashade finally rested her weary body on her thin sleeping mat, they began to plan how to ensure she would never escape their grip.
3 market weeks later, everything changed. Folashade was returning from the stream, a clay pot balanced perfectly on her head, when she encountered a man she had never seen before. He stood near the narrow path that led to her father's compound, dressed in an indigo agbaga, embroidered with patterns that spoke of wealth and status. He was tall, his posture confident but not arrogant. When he saw Folashade approaching, he stepped aside respectfully. "Ekaro, sister," he greeted in Yoruba. "Good morning." Folashade paused briefly. "Ekaro, sir." The man's eyes studied her face with the kind of attention that made her uncomfortable. Not with lust, but with the careful assessment of someone making an important decision. "Forgive my boldness," he said, "but I must know your name." Folashade tightened her grip on the pot. "I am Folashade, daughter of Adeyemi." The man's expression shifted, as if the name confirmed something he already suspected. "Adeyemi, the palm wine tapper?" "Yes, sir." He nodded slowly. "My name is Adekunle. I am the son of Chief Adebaino of Lagos. I have come to Ibadan on business, but..." He paused. "I believe the Orishas brought me here for a different reason." Folashade felt her heartbeat quicken. She knew where this conversation was leading, and it terrified her. "I must continue home," she said quickly. "My family is waiting."
Adekunle stepped back. "Of course, but before you go, please tell your father that I will visit him tomorrow. There is something important I must discuss with him." Folashade did not respond. She walked past him as quickly as she could without spilling the water, her mind racing. When she arrived home, Iyakike was waiting in the courtyard, her arms crossed. "Who was that man?" Iyakike demanded. "I do not know him, Iyami," Folashade answered truthfully. "Do not lie to me. I saw you speaking with him. He asked for Baba's name. He said he will visit tomorrow." Iyakike's eyes narrowed dangerously. "For what purpose?" Folashade set down the water pot. He did not say. But Iyakiko already knew. She had seen enough marriage negotiations in her lifetime to recognize the look in a man's eyes when he had found what he was searching for. That evening, after Adeyemi returned home, Adekunle arrived with 2 elders from Lagos. They sat respectfully in the receiving area, while Folashade served them kola nuts and palm wine with trembling hands. Adekunle's voice was clear and formal. "Baba Adeyemi, I have come with good intentions. I have seen your daughter, Folashade, and after much thought, I wish to take her as my wife." The courtyard fell silent. Adeyemi's face broke into a smile, the first genuine smile Folashade had seen in months. "This is unexpected," he said, "but I am honored." He called Folashade forward. "My daughter, this man has spoken with respect. He wishes to marry you. What do you say?"
Folashade's throat felt tight. She looked at Adekunle, at his kind eyes, his patient expression, and then at her father's hopeful face. "I agree, Baba," she said softly. Adeyemi clasped his hands together.
Then you have my blessing to proceed properly." From behind the kitchen wall, Kike was listening, her fingernails digging into her palms. She rushed to find Bumpe and Iya Kike. "That trader from Lagos," Kike hissed. "He wants to marry Folashade." Bimpe's face twisted with rage. "Impossible! Men like that never look at her." Iya Kike's expression became stone. So this is what she has been planning, playing the humble fool while attracting wealthy men behind our backs. Simisola stood in the doorway, quiet and troubled, but she said nothing. That night, Iya Kike gathered her daughters in secret. "We cannot allow this marriage," she said with deadly calm. "If Folashade leaves this house honored and wealthy, it will shame us forever. People will say our daughters were passed over for a second wife's child." Kike leaned forward. "Then we must act before the marriage rites are completed." Pimpe nodded slowly. "If she becomes damaged, no man will want her." Simisola looked up sharply. "What are you planning?" Iya Kike ignored her. "We will handle it quietly. No one must know." Simisola stood abruptly. "I want no part of this." She left the room, her heart pounding. Outside, beneath the same moon that had blessed Folashade's breath, Simisola made a decision that would change everything.
The next morning, Iya Kike prepared breakfast as she always did. But this time, she added something extra to Folashade's portion: crushed bitter herbs that would make her violently ill. "Folashade," she called sweetly, "come and eat before you begin your work." Folashade entered cautiously. Iya Kike's kindness was always suspicious. The food was placed before her, yam porridge, perfectmi seasoned. But as Folashade lifted the spoon to her mouth, Simisola suddenly burst into the room. "Iya mi," Simisola cried, "the goat has escaped and is eating the neighbor's cassava." Iya Kike jumped up immediately. "That cursed animal!" She rushed outside, Kike and Bimpe following. Simisola looked at Folashade urgently. "Do not eat that food." "What?" "Please, trust me, do not eat it." Folashade stared at her stepsister in confusion, but something in Simisola's eyes made her set down the spoon. Simisola quickly switched the bowls, placing Iya Kike's portion in front of Folashade and hiding the poisoned one. When Iya Kike returned, fuming about the goat, she found Folashade eating peacefully. Iya Kike's jaw tightened. "Why are you not sick yet?" she muttered under her breath. But Folashade had heard, and for the first time, true fear entered her heart.
2 days later, Bimpe orchestrated a public humiliation. She stole money from Iya Kike's purse and hid it in Folashade's sleeping mat. Then, during market hours when half the village was present, she began screaming, "Thief! Thief in our house!" People gathered immediately. Baba Adeyami came running from the palm grove. "What happened?" he demanded. Bimpe pointed dramatically at Folashade. "She stole Iyatike's money. I found it hidden in her room." Folashade's eyes widened in shock. "I did not—" "Liar!" Iyakike shouted. "We found the money ourselves." The crowd murmured. Stealing from family was one of the worst offenses in Yoruba culture. But then, a small voice spoke up from the crowd. "That is impossible." Everyone turned. It was Mama Yetunde, the oldest woman in the village, known for her wisdom and sharp memory. "I saw Bimpe near Folashade's sleeping area this morning," Mama Yetunde said calmly. "I thought nothing of it at the time, but now," she looked directly at Bimpe, "perhaps you should explain what you were doing there." Bimpe's face drained of color. Adeyami's voice became dangerously quiet. "Bimpe, tell the truth." Under the weight of the entire village's stare, Bimpe crumbled. She confessed through tears, and the crowd's anger turned toward Iyakike's family instead. Folashade was vindicated, but she knew the attacks would not stop.
3 nights before the final marriage ceremony, desperation made them reckless. Iyakike, Kike and Bimpe waited until Adeyemi was deeply asleep. They mixed palm oil with ground pepper to create a burning paste, something that would scar Folashade's face permanently. If she has no beauty, Iyakike whispered, she has nothing. They moved silently through the compound, carrying their weapons like assassins. But Simisola had been watching. She had seen the preparation, heard the whispered plans, and this time she could not stay silent. She ran through the darkness to Folashade's room and shook her awake. "They are coming," Simisola gasped. "They want to burn your face. You must hide, now." Folashade's blood turned cold. "Where?" "The shrine. No one goes there at night." Folashade grabbed her wrapper and ran barefoot through the compound toward the small family shrine dedicated to their ancestors. When Iyakike and her daughters entered Folashade's room, they found only an empty mat. "Where is she?" Kike hissed. They searched frantically, but Folashade had disappeared into the sacred darkness where even wickedness feared to tread. By dawn, when they gave up searching, they found Simisola sitting calmly outside her room. "You warned her," Bimpe accused. Simisola looked at her sister without flinching. "Yes." Iyakike raised her hand to strike, but Simisola caught her wrist. "Enough," Simisola said quietly. "What you are doing is evil, and I will not be part of it anymore."
The next day, Adekunle arrived with his father, Chief Adebayo, and a full entourage of elders. But something was different this time. They did not come just for marriage negotiations. They came with a revelation. Chief Adebayo sat before Baba Adeyemi and spoke with grave authority. "Adeyemi, my friend," the chief began, "there is something you must know. My son did not meet your daughter by accident." Adeyemi frowned. "I do not understand." "Your late wife, Aduni," the chief continued. "She was my cousin. Before she married you, our family lost contact with her. We only learned of her death 2 years ago." Adeyemi's mouth fell open. Chief Adebayo's voice softened. "When we heard she had left a daughter, we began searching. My son was sent to Ibadan to find her. When he saw Folashade, he knew immediately she has her mother's face." Tears filled Adeyemi's eyes. "Aduni's family. We are your family now," Chief Adebayo said firmly. "And Folashade is not just my son's chosen wife. She is my brother's daughter. She is returning to her mother's people." From the shadows, Iyakike listened with mounting horror. This was not just a marriage. This was a restoration. Folashade was not some helpless girl being rescued. She was royalty reclaiming her place, and there was nothing they could do to stop it.
Desperation drove Iyakike to the forbidden. That night, she visited Baba Alawo, the diviner who practiced the old dark arts that even the bravest feared. "I need something powerful," she said, placing silver coins on his mat. "Something to destroy beauty permanently." Baba Alawo's eyes glittered in the lamplight. "You wish to curse someone?" "Yes." "Curses have prices," he warned. "What you send out returns threefold." "I do not care," Iyakike said coldly. "I want her ruined." The diviner prepared a mixture, black soap combined with incantations meant to strip away beauty and replace it with disfigurement. "Mix this with water," he instructed. "Pour it on her while she sleeps. By morning, her beauty will be gone forever. Iyakike paid him and returned home with the cursed soap hidden in her wrapper. But what she did not know was that Simisola had followed her, and Simisola had heard everything. The wedding day arrived bright and beautiful. The entire village gathered at Chief Adebayo's temporary compound in Ibadan. Folashade was dressed in layers of deep blue asoke fabric, coral beads adorning her neck, white chalk patterns drawn on her arms to honor the ancestors. She looked radiant, untouched by all the evil that had been planned against her. Adekunle stood proud beside her, his eyes filled with love and protection. But in the crowd, Iyakike appeared wearing a dark veil. In her hands, hidden beneath cloth, was a calabash containing the cursed mixture. Her plan was simple. During the dancing, when everyone was distracted, she would splash it across Folashade's face and disappear into the chaos. She pushed through the celebrating crowd, moving closer and closer to the bride. Just as she raised the calabash, ready to strike, a hand grabbed her wrist firmly. It was Simisola. "Iyami," Simisola said loudly enough for nearby people to hear. "What are you doing?" Iyakike tried to jerk away, but Simisola held firm. The calabash tilted, and the cursed mixture splashed not onto Folashade, but backward onto Iyakike herself. She screamed. The liquid burned like fire. Within seconds, dark marks began spreading across her face and hands. People gasped and stepped back. "What is this?" someone shouted. The diviner's warning had been true. What you send out returns threefold. Baba Alawo himself appeared at the edge of the crowd, his face grim. "She brought this upon herself," he announced. "She sought to curse an innocent, and the ancestors have judged her." Chief Adebayo's guard seized Iyakike, Kike, and Bim-E, who had been waiting nearby to help with the attack. Baba Adeyemi stood frozen, staring at his first wife with a mixture of horror and heartbreak. "Why?" he whispered. "She was just a child." Iyakike had no answer. Her beauty, the very thing she had tried to steal, was now permanently marred by her own wickedness. The village elders conferred quickly. The judgment was unanimous. Iyakike and her daughters would be banished from the village. They would carry the mark of their shame wherever they went. Folashade watched from a distance, not with triumph, but with sadness. As they were led away, Simisola turned back and mouthed silently, "I am sorry." Folashade nodded. Forgiveness, she had learned, was not about forgetting. It was about refusing to let evil continue its work in your own heart. The wedding continued after the judgment. The drums played, the women danced, and Folashade and Adekunle were joined in marriage by the blessings of both families. But something unexpected happened afterward. Simisola, who had been spared from punishment because of her testimony, asked to speak privately with Folashade. "I do not expect forgiveness," Simisola said, tears streaming down her face. "I stayed silent for too long. I am as guilty as they are." Folashade took her stepsister's hands gently. "You saved my life 3 times. You chose righteousness when it cost you everything. That is not guilt. That is courage." "What will I do now?" Simisola asked. "I have no family left." Chief Adebayo, who had been listening, stepped forward. "You have family. You protected my daughter when her own blood would not. You are welcome in our home." And so, Simisola went to Lagos with them, where she eventually married a good man and found the peace she had helped Folashade secure. Baba Adeyemi visited his daughter often in Lagos. On one such visit, as they sat beneath a shaded courtyard, he shared an old Yoruba proverb. "Ẹni tí ò bá gbèrò ìkà fún ẹlòmíràn, òun ni yóò rí."
What does it mean, Baba? Folashade asked, though she suspected she already knew. Adeyemi smiled sadly. He who plans evil for another will encounter it himself. Folashade nodded. She thought of Aya Kike's scarred face, of Kike and Bimpe's disgrace, of how their jealousy had consumed them until there was nothing left. But there is another proverb, Adeyemi added, his voice growing stronger. Suru ni baba iwa. Patience is the father of character. He touched his daughter's cheek gently. You endured with patience. You did not become bitter. You did not seek revenge. And because of that, you did not just survive, you are restored. Folashade embraced her father, understanding fully now that her suffering had not been meaningless. It had refined her, prepared her, and ultimately elevated her to a place she could never have imagined.
Jealousy is a poison you drink hoping someone else will die. Those who spend their lives trying to destroy another person's destiny will find their own future destroyed instead. But patience, integrity, and righteousness, even when they bring you suffering, will always be rewarded in ways you cannot predict. The beauty they tried to steal was never Folashade's face, it was her character. And that kind of beauty cannot be burned, cursed, or taken away. It only grows brighter in the darkness. If this story touched your heart, please show your support by liking and subscribing to this channel. We share African folktales that carry wisdom, culture, and lessons our ancestors knew we would need. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? And have you ever faced jealousy from those closest to you? Until then, remember, Iwalewa, character is beauty. May your path be blessed, and may those who wish you harm find peace before their wickedness consumes them. Odabo, goodbye.